Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3883b-The. Today's date is April 14th, 2026, and the title of the episode is The More Trump Dismantles the Deep State System, the More Unrealistic It Becomes. Prepare yourself. Did you know a popular looks maxing streamer said Gavin Newsom would beat J.D. Vance in the 2020 election because Vance was overweight and Gavin is better looking? Then Vance showed up to a recent interview looking completely transformed. Just weeks after the comment, everyone's pointing to GLP-1 type of drug, the same type of weight loss drug that 31 million Americans are on. But here's the thing. You don't need a prescription or a needle to get those results. This is why I'm obsessed with the particular GLP-1 supplement instead of a pharmaceutical override. It uses plant-based clinical studied ingredients like metabolate to help my body naturally boost its own hunger controlling signals. I get the same fullness and fewer cravings without the prescriptions, needles, or the growing list of side effects making headlines. It supports my weight management while protecting my metabolism so I can keep the results for good. To kick off spring, get 51% off only at trimwithx22.com. Every order comes with free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with subscriptions. Once again, that is trimwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, we can see that as Trump continually exposed them and Trump dismantles the deep state players, a lot of what he's doing is going to seem very unrealistic. A lot of people are going to say, why is he doing this? What's going on? We just want to have a good life. We don't want all these things. We don't want him to attack Iran. Why is he doing this to Venezuela? Why is he going into these different places? Why is he attacking the Pope? Why is he putting these pictures up there? Because you have to remember that we're in a deep state system. And the system has everyone. The system has you. It's all around you. Even now, you could see it when you turn on the news. You can feel it when you go to work, when you pay your taxes, when you watch the world burn on your screen. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth, to keep you enslaved in their systems. You think the charities are helping the poor? You think they're real? You think the news is actually giving you real news stories based in facts and truth? You think taxes you're paying are actually funding the government? You think programs that Congress creates are actual programs assisting people in other countries? You think the riots and protests are grassroots movements? You think the food you're eating is healthy? You think the drugs you take heal you? You think the education in schools was to educate you? You think the Federal Reserve is helping the economy? You think the Federal Reserve note that you have in your pocket, you think that is your money, that you own it? You think those in Congress actually represent you? You think you were actually voting for your elected leader? You think that COVID was naturally occurring? That lockdowns, masks 6 feet apart, and vaccines were going to stop it? You think the deep state wars were for freedom? Unfortunately, all of this is part of their system and a lot more. And nobody can tell anyone what the system is. You have to experience it. You need to be awake. You need to think logically. You need to understand it. But even then, it will seem unreal because a lot of times people don't have the ability to take that next step to say, you know what? I see it. Some people like to stay in the system. Some people don't mind it. But again, this is what Trump is doing. He's waking the people up, and he gave the people a decision to make. Do you want to learn the truth, or do you want to keep going with this system and wherever they take you? And the people decided. The people said, you know what? We're electing you because we've seen what their system is. Maybe not all of it, but we've seen a lot. And we want you to stop it. Now, Trump is not just going to close the borders. He's not just going to make the economy great. He's not just going to remove wokeism in the school system and universities. He's not just going to deport the people. He's going to do much, much more. And as we go down this path, and as Trump attacks the system that a lot of people believe in, the system that people have been living in. It goes against what they believe. So when you hear Trump attacking the Pope or putting up a picture where people believe that he's Jesus, but actually he's actually looking at himself as the Pope. He was comparing himself to the Pope. Actually, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But as he moves forward in dismantling the entire system, a lot of it is going to seem outrageous. A lot of it's going to be, why is he doing this? A lot of it's going to be, I don't understand. It makes no sense. He told us that he was going to take back the country. And to take back the country and to dismantle the entire system, you must understand the system. You must see the system. And a lot of people have seen a lot of the system, and you're going to see a lot more of the system. Basically, Trump has given the people a decision to make, and people made it during the 2024 elections. You had the blue pill. The story ends. You stay in the system. You believe whatever you want to believe, and you go down the path the deep state players were going to bring you. If you elect President Trump, which the people have done, you take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland, and Trump shows you how deep the rabbit hole goes. The actions Trump take will seem strange at times. Sometimes it will seem unrealistic as Trump dismantles the deep state system. Because the deeper we go, the more unrealistic it all becomes. The end won't be for everyone. The choice to know will be yours. And every step of the way, you're going to see people go against what Trump is doing. You can question. That's part of our nature. But again, when you don't understand why he's doing something, because in the very beginning, when he does something, it's why is he doing this? It makes no sense. What's going on? You see, you have to remember, Trump has seen the full system. Trump has seen the classified information. Trump has the information that you do not have. Trump knows who the players are. He knows how the system works. He knows who's involved in the system. He knows the lower ranks. He knows the upper ranks. He knows them all. What he's doing, slowly but surely, he has to introduce it to you. He has to introduce it to you so you understand. And sometimes when he first comes out with it, it's hard to comprehend. It's hard to realize what he's trying to say, where he's trying to go with this. Now, in the very beginning, we did have, I call it encyclopedia of information to guide us through all of this. And as we're now dismantling the deep state system, it becomes much more confusing because the things that he has to do goes against everything that you believed in the past. So when we say you have to remove your expectations, you have to remove what you know, and you have to trust the man that we put into position, that's truly what we have to do. Because again, he told us in the very beginning what he was going to do. He was going to dismantle the entire system that they set up. Now, a lot of people, even that follow Q and everything else, believe the system is just Epstein. They believe it's just the pedo network. Some people believe that, it's just a couple people in Congress. The system is everywhere. We're living in the system that they created. And I think now, since we went down the list, a partial list of the system, I think people really start to understand what the system is. Because it goes far, far beyond the pedo network or a couple of corrupt people in D.C. or just Soros. It's much larger. It's deeper, wider than anyone could ever imagine. And it includes other countries and the things that they have done to set up their system. Trump has to reverse all of it. And that is what we're witnessing right now. And this is why he had to go out to Iran. This is why he had to go to Venezuela. This is why he speaks to the president of Mexico the way he does about cartels. This is why he speaks to certain leaders in a certain way, because they're part of the system. He's fighting against them. He's fighting against Starmer. He's fighting against the EU. He's fighting against all the countries that are part of the system. He's fighting against the fake news. He's fighting against the people in D.C. He's fighting against those people that are corrupt in many different states. He's fighting all of this because they're all part of the system that has enslaved you, the system that has kept you where they needed you to be and what they needed you to believe. Now, Trump is showing you the truth. And the truth sometimes doesn't make sense. The truth sometimes seems weird. The truth sometimes seems unrealistic because it doesn't make sense. Because what you've been told is different from the truth. But eventually what happens is people start to do a little bit of research. People start to understand what he's doing. And after, a couple of weeks or whatever, after the first narrative comes out from him, people start to realize, I see where this is headed. I understand now. But in the very beginning, some people are shocked. I don't understand. Why would he be doing this? He's losing MAGA. He's not losing anything. You see, if you're going to show the truth and you're going to show the people truly what's going on in the world, people are not going to abandon you. They're going to come with you. It might seem like it in the very beginning. It might seem like, whoa, look at this. People are taken back by this. Look what he's doing here. But eventually, when more and more people explain it, when more and more people see what's going on, then people go, I get it now. I understand this. And that's what he's doing. I mean, think about it. Go back to COVID, for example. I mean, do you really think back then people were really listening to him when he said, listen, hydroxychloroquine, it's like a vaccine. This could be all over and done with. It's not that big of a deal. It's not a pandemic. People didn't believe him. Why? Because at that point in time, he really didn't control the narrative. The fake news did. And they were able to push this. Same thing with the elections. They cheated in the elections. Most of the country didn't believe it. Most of the country thought this was a fair election. Until evidence started to come out. Until time passed. And people saw what he already knew. And now you're going to see even more. Even with Russian collusion. Even with impeachment number 1, impeachment number 2. The evidence is now coming out. Now, when you look back in time, people say, I see it. I understand what they did here. They tried to cover it up. They tried to remove him. You see, this is what's happening right now because now we're moving very, very quickly and he has to do things that people never expected. Because again, this wasn't on their bingo card because they thought, he come in, he make the economy a little bit better, close the borders, stop wokeism, maybe, get a couple people into Congress and everything will be peachy keen. But again, that's not how you take back the country. That's not how you destroy the system. And when you look at the system is a gigantic lie. And that is what he's destroying. And this is what people have to come to terms with, which eventually they will. We'll be talking a lot more about what's going on in the country. But first, let's start off with what happened to Savannah Hernandez. Yes, Harmeet Dillon is now looking into this. Kash Patel is now investigating this. But what's very interesting about this is that the man accused of attacking Savannah Hernandez, where he pushed her from behind, and what man does this in the first place? What man attacks a woman, especially from the back, and, keeps coming at her? Well, we've come to find out that Ostrushko, he was born in 1975, and in his late 20s, he was actually involved in unemployment fraud. He ultimately received a stay of execution on his sentencing and was discharged from probation after less than 2 years, according to the signed document dated March of 2007. And I find that very, very interesting because all these people, it seems like they always have some type of criminal record that are part of Antifa, that are part of these very violent groups. And once again, you can see the DOJ, they're now looking into this. I mean, all you got to do is look at the corrupt judges. These corrupt judges are part of the system. And you can see Boasberg has been working for the deep state players on the judiciary level, trying to stop Trump every step of the way. And now in appeals court, has ordered Boasberg to end his intrusive criminal contempt investigation of Trump related to the Aliens Enemy Act. So last March, Boasberg granted a temporary restraining order, TRO, to stop the Trump administration from deporting thousands of Venezuelan nationals believed to be members of the Tren de Aragua gang under the Alien Enemies Act. Boasberg threatened to hold Trump officials in contempt for not bringing some of the world's most vicious killers, criminals, and rapists back to the United States. The D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals voted 2-1 to end this. The 3-judge panel ordered Boasberg to end his intrusive contempt. And basically, he was slapped down. Because, again, he wasn't following the rule of law. He was doing the bidding of the deep state because he's part of the system. And now we had to have other judges to say, what are you doing here? This is not the rule of law. You're just pushing this because you want to push it. And they pretty much shut it all down. So they ordered him to end his inquiry, which is very, very interesting. And we're going to see a lot more of this. But again, to gain back control, we need to remove a lot of these judges. And one of the only ways to do this is to impeach them. And to do that, you need to have control of the House and Senate. And I do believe this is what Trump's plan is from the very, very beginning. Because he knows how important the midterms are. Because we need the House, we need the Senate, because we have a lot of laws that we need to undo. We have amendments that need to be removed, or we need new amendments. Because again, you have to remember, going back to the very beginning, to 1913, the deep state players started to create their system. And all throughout this time, they've built upon their system. And this is what we have today. So they have corrupted. It's basically a hostile takeover of this country and the entire world. This is what they've been doing every step of the way. And yes, part of their takeover was to remove the weapons from the people. And this is why in Trump's new bill for 2027, he has put in the One Big Beautiful Bill on purpose, a separate civil rights system in the DOJ to basically protect the Second Amendment rights. You have to remember, the FBI, the DOJ, and all the other agencies, they were put into place to protect the system. Trump now is doing what these agencies were originally created for. They were originally created to protect the constitutional rights of the people. The DOJ was put into place to make sure the states were in line with the Constitution. And we should have always had a division in the civil rights part of the DOJ to protect the Second Amendment, to protect the First Amendment, protect every single one of our rights, to make sure the states are not out of line, that they're following the Constitution. That was the whole purpose. And now you could see most of these laws that are on the books right now, they're going to be removed because when they start to look at the gun control laws, basically they're repugnant to the Constitution and they're going to be reversed. So everything that we experienced over this long period of time that was in their system, it's going to be undone. That is what we're witnessing right now. But you can see out in Europe, they're still pushing the same agenda. They're pushing the system's agenda. They want the system to grow. They want the system to move in the direction they want it to go. And what is that? Their system is to blend their countries, remove the history, destroy everything in their country, destroy the energy, destroy the manufacturing, destroy the economy, destroy the history, destroy it all, move everything into China. Let China have the control. That's what we're witnessing. This is why they brought the Muslims in. Because again, Muslims do not assimilate. Muslims take over. We see it here in the US. We see it in the UK. We see it in Germany. We see it in France. We see it in Italy. We see it in Spain. We see it everywhere. And if you look at Spain, you could see Spain's Prime Minister Sanchez says the legalization of over 500,000 migrants will be approved today, calling it an act of justice, comparing today's migrants to our grandparents who immigrated to U.S. and Europe in search for a better life and a necessity. Spain, like other European countries, is aging. Without new people working and contributing to the system, our prosperity slows. Well, why is that? Well, once again, they stopped their population from having children. This was done on purpose. Their population is shrinking, and to keep the deep state central bank system going, you need to bring in cheaper and cheaper labor. Why do you think we had the illegals in the United States? And let me just translate what he said. We're going to be bringing in the worst of the worst. We're going to change the entire landscape of the Spanish country, and you will not even recognize it after a couple years. Because all you got to do is look at the UK. All you got to do is look at France. All you got to do is look at all these different countries. We saw it happening here in the United States. But what's very interesting about the prime minister is that the Spanish prime minister, his wife, has been charged with influence peddling and private sector corruption. And his brother has also been indicted in an influence peddling probe. The investigation that resulted in his wife's charges has embarrassed many citizens and judges, according to the country's justice minister. He said that the reputational harm done to Spain's justice system will, in many respects, be irreparable. So basically, it seems like the whole family is a criminal family. Now you understand what he's doing here. And you have to remember, out in Spain, the United States is the main investor there, generating more than 330,000 jobs. So think about this. They didn't let us use our air bases. We couldn't fly over the country. And the United States is the main investor in Spain. Maybe, and I think Trump has mentioned this, that he might start to remove some of the investments. They might lose some of these jobs, these companies. Because once again, you have to remember, Trump is fighting against the system. They are part of the system. That is what we're witnessing right now. And this is why they had to get rid of Viktor Orban. Because again, he was outside of their system. He was not cooperating with the system. Mike Benz put this out and says, the EU Council blocked $40 billion to Hungary because it wouldn't give NGOs control over its courts. The EU court blocked Hungary from passing a FARA law to see whether NGOs there were funded by the EU. The EU Council announced it would centralize voting power on EU accession to block Hungary from having a vote in the future if Orban won the election. The EU flooded Hungary with political NGOs to back Magyar's campaign to oust Orban from power so Hungary would bend to the EU on Ukraine accession, mass immigration. Magyar wins. The EU immediately imposes a 27-point conditions list for Hungary to unblock the funds, including on Ukraine accession, mass immigration. The EU commissioner comes out and says she's actually going to centralize voting power to cut out EU members like Hungary anyway. So as soon as Magyar came out, what did he say? Hey, we're going to set up term limits and it's going to be retroactive. So if you've already served 2 terms, 8 years total, you can't run again. So now Magyar has 8 years in the EU. You think this was all set up? Absolutely. You think they're keeping Orban out? Absolutely. And what's going to happen now? Well, the EU now is going to fund Ukraine. The EU's, and Amuse put this out, the EU's election interference in Hungary was 100% about Ukraine. Anyone who stands in the way of sending more money to Zelensky will be destroyed. And that's exactly what has happened here. And with Orban gone, you could see that Europe, they're going to escalate whatever is happening out in Ukraine. They're going to trigger a war. And they're going to push this very, very hard. Because you could see that Magyar stated that Hungary would maintain its opt-out from participating in the $90 billion loan financially, but would not veto it, allowing the EU to proceed. His personal reservations about weapons transfer in Ukraine's EU accession bid are structurally irrelevant. Measures requiring unanimity were blocked by Orban. Magyar will not block them. The break is gone. So Orban and his removal, well, it looks like there's no veto blocking consensus. The EU is more likely to agree on additional weapons, money, and equipment transfer to Ukraine. Again, they're going to try to start World War III there. That's what this is all about. Because they see, once again, everything falling apart around them. Trump is making huge gains, and you can see that they're panicking. Remember, part of their plan, eventually, was to have World War III. It was part of their 16-year plan. Part of their plan was to down the entire economic system and bring us into a new system. They're still pushing the same exact plan. What Trump is doing right now, he's just leading them down this path, removing the other parts of it so he has control of what they're about to do. And once again, you could see they're definitely moving in the direction that he wants them to move in, because he knew eventually he was going to deal with an event like we've never seen before. And I do believe that's still going to be the scare event, where we're going to see maybe a nuclear type of scare with Ukraine and Russia. And you have to remember, if you don't have Russia pushing back to start a war, you can't have a war. If you don't have the United States on your side to start a war, who's fighting the war? Europe? Ukraine? It's going to go nowhere. So Trump pretty much has them trapped in all of this. And you can see that they're pushing forward with their agenda. Trump is basically bringing them to a point where he could say, checkmate. Now, the other thing that's very interesting that we learned just yesterday is that all the propaganda for Iran is coming out of California, Glendale, California. And it looks like it's coming from a professor in a university, which is very, very interesting. Colonel Towner Watkins says the U.S. government has contended that Iranian regime is an existential threat for decades. It has spawned terror cells all over the world. Meanwhile, the U.S. population and your corrupt congressional members has extorted trillions of dollars from us to pay for an intelligence apparatus used against America with pinpoint accuracy every effing time. Capable of finding a grandma with cancer walking around a building she paid for on 1/6, but can't find a mortal existential enemy of the state. They literally think you are that stupid. Oh, the bumbling, completely inept CIA can't find the enemy, but the NSA FBI, using the same tools, can find Granny. The only explanation is they knew the enemy is inside the tent because they are complicit with the terrorists. As a matter of fact, the CIA was repeatedly trained said terrorists inside the U.S. and used them inside the U.S. So basically, it's the system. Remember, everything that they've been telling you, oh, look, we had Al-Qaeda take down the World Trade Center. Oh, we have to take away your rights. Oh, we have terrorists running around the entire world. Oh, we have to remove a lot of your rights. This is part of their system. This is how they trick you. And now you're seeing it. It's becoming clearer and clearer every single day. And as Trump makes more and more moves against them, people are going to question everything. In the beginning, it's going to seem very, very odd. But in the end, you will see it, and it will make a lot more sense. Actually, if you think about what Biden did, where he completely opened the border, Trump mentioned to everyone, you know what Biden's going to do? He's going to open the border and let everyone in. Criminals, insane asylum people, drug traffickers, human traffickers. Now, at the time, during 2020, people were like, nah, that's not going to happen. These are people that want a better life. You see, people didn't believe it until they saw it. This is why Trump does certain things that he has to do, because he knows.
You already know why people are moving to crypto. But here's the problem. Most wallets still plug into the same system we're trying to escape in the first place. That's why Rumble built Rumble Wallet. It's a self-custodial wallet that lives inside an ecosystem that actually defends free speech and financial freedom. No bank holding your balance. Not even Rumble can touch your funds. This is your money on your keys on your terms. If you're already using Bitcoin or stablecoins, Rumble Wallet gives you even more power. Direct, fast tipping and support for creators right on Rumble without waiting weeks for payouts or dealing with random account holders. On-chain payments in assets like Bitcoin, Tether Gold, and USAT, so you can move value globally without asking anyone for permission. Most wallets stop at storage. Rumble Wallet connects your money to a marketplace of ideas that refuses to cave to censorship. So if you're serious about sovereignty, financial, and digital, this is where you level up. Go to wallet.rumble.com or search Rumble Wallet in your app store, download it, back up your recovery phrase, and move your money where it belongs, in your hands. Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. See terms at wallet.rumble.com or just click the link in the description.
The inner workings of the system. He knows the players. He knows who he has to attack. He knows who he has to expose. It's being done on purpose. Why do you think he brought Elon in? To stop the flow of money to USAID. Why do you think he went after the worst of the worst in this country? Because he knows where he's bringing us. He's bringing us towards the storm, a fight against the system. That is what's happening. And remember going back a little bit in time when Trump said that Biden was bringing Russia and China together? Well, think about what Trump is doing right now. He's separating Russia and China. Jason Cohen says, Victor David Hansen says almost everything that Trump is doing that seems herky-jerky has an ultimate strategic purpose to diminish the power of the Chinese and to turn Russia and China against each other. There is a plan, and it's working. Absolutely. So he's basically unwinding, dismantling everything the deep state players have put together. And he's now taking control. And you can see at this point in time, China is in trouble. Amuse put this out and said, CNN reported China was weeks from shipping air defense systems to Iran. Trump blockaded Iranian ports. China immediately announced no weapons sales to Iran and started buying Saudi and Iraqi oil instead. The blockade stopped Iranian oil exports and a Chinese arms deal. All came to an end. Trump is controlling the entire situation. U.S. Central Command gives us an update on the blockade and says more than 10,000 U.S. sailors, Marines, and airmen, along with other dozen warships and dozens of aircraft, are executing the mission to blockade ships entering and departing Iranian ports. During the first 24 hours, no ships made it past the USA blockade, and 6 merchant vessels complied with the direction from U.S. forces to turn around to re-enter an Iranian port on the Gulf of Oman. The blockade is being enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. U.S. forces are supporting freedom of navigation for vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports. So, yes, there are many, many ships that are going in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. They're blocking those ships that are going to the Iranian ports. Very, very different when you look at this. So basically, if Iran was always blocking the Strait of Hormuz, how is then Trump blocking their block? Or they never really had control of the Strait of Hormuz, and Trump now controls it all. He always has. And think about it. He now controls the energy in this sector. Think about what the deep state players have been doing. They've been shifting all energy out of their countries. If you look at Europe, think about what Ursula von der Leyen said, is the perfect time to do what? Go to all electric. We should all go to solar, wind. We should get rid of fossil fuels. And they were not really fossil fuels. That was, again, another hoax in their system. Hey, remember in the 70s, we're running out of oil? That was all fake. So basically, they're using the same exact tactic. Higher oil prices, scarcity in those countries. This is the perfect time. Let's go through the Green New Scam. Let's do that. This is what Biden was doing here in the United States. Same exact thing. But now they're going to have no energy. You see, you have to remember, the United States is moving in a complete and utter opposite direction. The same direction that China was moving in. Trump, he put this out and said, Europe is desperate for energy. And yet the United Kingdom refuses to open North Sea oil. One of the greatest fields in the world. Tragic. Aberdeen should be booming. Norway sells its North Sea oil to the UK at double the price. They're making a fortune. UK, which is better situated on the North Sea for purposes of energy than Norway, should drill, baby, drill. It is absolutely crazy, and that they don't. And no more windmills. President DJT. He keeps warning Europe. Listen, you have no energy. Start drilling. We're heading in a different direction. Think about it. Did California do the same exact thing? Did they stop the drilling off the coast? Absolutely. So Trump is warning them, just like he warned Germany. Listen, don't be dependent on Russian oil. Don't remove your nuclear power plants. Don't do this. He's doing the same thing to Europe right now. This is the wrong direction. You're heading in the wrong direction. But again, they are puppets. They are puppets of the system, and they're going to follow the orders of the system. That is what they're going to do. But think about what Trump just did. Remember, yesterday we talked about how all of a sudden we have a deal with Indonesia, a defense cooperation partnership with Indonesia. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said, it was an honor to host Indonesian Defense Minister at the Pentagon today. I was proud to announce that we are elevating our relationship to a major defense cooperation partnership in recognition of the strength and potential of our bilateral defense ties. So think about what he just did here. Why would he choose Indonesia? Clandestine says eyes on. Heggs has just hosted Indonesian counterpart and announced a major defense cooperation partnership. The Strait of Hormuz is second highest volume oil choke point on Earth. What's the first? The Strait of Malacca, Indonesia. 80% of China's oil imports pass through here. Global oil shipping choke points are being secured by the U.S. military and their partners. Trump is securing the board. It's happening. Tom Sauer says, energy, sea lines of communication, Panama Canal, choke point, Trump has control. Venezuela, choke point, Trump has control. Strait of Hormuz, choke point, Trump has control. Iran, producing oil, selling oil, he has control. Straits of Malacca, Indonesia, Trump has control. South China Sea, Strait of Taiwan, all controlled by who? Trump. So basically, he's shutting down what the deep state was planning to do, what the central bankers were planning to do. He's shutting down the shift from all the countries across the world to China, and basically countering everything the central bank set up from the very, very beginning. Think about what's happening. He's reversing and dismantling the entire system. This is why when people say, hey, he should be concentrating here in the United States, you can't concentrate here in the United States unless you take care of what the deep state set up across the world. They set up a system. The system works together. The system is against us. The system works against us. If he didn't go into these places, the system would have shifted everything from Europe, shifted everything from Australia, New Zealand, and all the other countries to China. Russia would still be in line with China. So then all that would be in China. Think about that. How would that play out in the end? It wouldn't be too great. This is why Trump is doing this. And yes, it's going to seem strange. It's going to seem weird. It's not going to make sense. And yes, he's going to attack many other people. And it's going to seem kind of odd. Why is he doing this? Because he wants you to look. He wants you to question. He wants the internet to go wild over it. Because how else do you spread the word? Do you just quietly mention it? Or you do things where it raises awareness? You have to remember, he's a promoter. He uses information to his benefit. So if you're going to do something, make it so outrageous so everybody talks about it. And that's exactly what he did, which we'll be talking about in just a sec. But look what's happening out in New York City. We could see Mamdani right now. He's moving forward with a city-run grocery store. Now, we've seen this before. It completely and utterly failed and closed down. And he's going to open a city-run grocery store in East Harlem. It will cost $30 million to build and take over a year to complete. So why does it cost $30 million? Well, it seems like he's a little bit over budget right now. And Trump could probably build a dozen of these for $30 million. So why is it costing so much? Well, probably a lot of money laundering. And basically what you're going to see in the end, you're going to see this grocery store completely and utterly fail. But let it all play out. Sometimes the people have to see the truth. Sometimes you have to show the people. And remember, this store that they're building, it won't pay any taxes, won't pay any rent, won't pay anything. So who's paying for it? Oh, that's right. All the people in the city. Do you think there's going to be lines down the street? You think everyone's going to come in and take as much as they want? Or are they going to start limiting the amount that you take? This should be very, very interesting moving forward. Just like it's very, very interesting with Eric Swalwell. His days are done. He just resigned from Congress. And yes, he has raped a lot of people. A lot of people have been coming forward. A lot of people saying that they received the date rape drug. And now he's in quite a bit of trouble. Remember, he was the one who was screaming the loudest, attacking President Trump. And think about it. Do you think he's the only one? Absolutely not. But Jonathan Turley put this out and said, in 1 week, Eric Swalwell was forced to drop out of the California race, put under criminal investigation in New York, and is the subject of a bipartisan expulsion effort. He was even kicked out of the home of the billionaire who was letting him crash. However, this is not all. Swalwell is unlikely to avoid expulsion but he may not have his law degree to fall back on. If these rape and sexual harassment claims are established, he is likely to face disbarment demands. Even his prior boosters at MS Now and CNN are unlikely to offer him a media deal. I will be discussing Swalwell on American Reports today. However, the collapse of Swalwell is accelerating with the opening of what appears to be an expedited House Ethics Committee investigation. I have been one of Swalwell's most persistent critics through the years. He has always been shielded by the Democrat establishment and the media. Now, he is persona non grata, without a friend in the world. And he is not the only one. There are going to be many, many others that are going to actually come out into the open. And what's very interesting, remember all the Hollywood elites that were backing Eric Swalwell, Sean Penn, Robert De Niro, Jane Fonda, Kimmel? What happened to them? What happened to the Me Too movement? What's going on here? Oh, wait. No one's coming out? No one's backing him anymore? No one's saying a word? Interesting, isn't it? But I think Cash pretty much sums it all up. Because you have to remember, just like Schiff, they're mortal enemies. Cash says, Eric Swalwell has maintained that none of the allegations against him are true. And now that he's resigned, we would welcome him to sit down with the FBI and share any information he has. We also encourage and welcome any person with relevant information to any of these matters to speak with us. Doors open to all, FBI. So now he has him where he wants him. And you can see that other representatives, they're calling it quits too. Tony Gonzalez, he announced his resignation from Congress. Now, once again, he's doing this because what is happening right now, it looks like he's also caught up in what Swalwell has been caught up in, sexual harassment and many other things. So I think he's saying, you know what, I'm not even going to be involved in this. I don't want an investigation. I'm just going to leave right now. See you later. Bye-bye. Get out of the spotlight. And that's exactly what he's doing. And you're going to see probably more people do this. Now, like we said before, certain things that Trump is going to do is not going to make sense. He wants you to question it. He wants it to be spread around the net. He does this on purpose to bring attention to it. Because again, if he just said it quietly like, oh, I don't like the Pope, nobody would care. If he didn't push certain things and make them outrageous, people wouldn't talk about it. He'd rather have people talking about it because once the evidence starts coming out, then people go, huh, that's very interesting. Now, let's go back a little bit in time. And Awaken Outlaw put this out on X. The media themselves had an affinity for portraying Barack Obama as a messianic, angelic figure. And in certain publications, they actually put a halo over Obama all the time, which is very, very interesting. And it's very interesting that Newsweek put out the first gay president. Interesting. But think about what Trump did. He had a white shirt, a red robe above him, and he was healing someone. Travis M. Snow explains, my wife summed up the whole Trump Jesus meme perfectly. Trump knows he's being ridiculous, which is the opposite of someone who is blaspheming or claiming to be Jesus. It's a meme, people. It's comedy. Just like you don't interpret the Proverbs in the same way you interpret apocalyptic literature. You don't interpret a meme like it's religious manifesto. Plus, you have to put this, I think, in the context of Trump's argument with Pope Leo. The Pope literally claims to be the vicar of Christ, one who acts for and in place of Christ on earth. Hence, Trump is in a cheeky way, is kind of saying, I'm the real Pope. Because he believes his foreign and domestic policies do more to promote health and stability in the real world than the policies of the Pope, who has said we should just have compassion on the Iranian regime and let them get nukes. It's really a jab at the Pope more than anything else. And it's kind of funny, too, if you can let yourself relax a little bit. Now, people are going to say, no, look, it looks just like Jesus. Well, if you look at the Pope, he's wearing the same exact outfit. And Trump put out a statement about the Pope. Was he trying to look like Jesus? Or was he trying to look like the Pope? Think about that. But it got everybody talking. That was the whole point. Because now this is going to lead into other things. He's already started the narrative. Remember, Trump is not here to make you feel better. He's not here to pet your head. He's not here to make nice. He's not here to use pleasantries. He's here to take back the country. If you want to hear pleasantries, if you want to hear someone talk nice to you, go to Obama, go to Clinton, go to all these people, because that's what they've done for a very long time. He's on a mission. He's here to take back the country. And he knows who the players are. He knows what he has to go after. He has the classified information. He knows what he's doing. He has a plan. And they tried to stop him. All these people in the system tried to stop him every step of the way. Think about it. From the first time he came into the office, they already launched their plan. The system attacked him. Not just here in the United States, people. Across the globe. Other foreign nations were involved in this to remove him because he was a threat to the system. Let's go back to 2019. Mays put this out. James Clapper says that the whistleblower complaint against Trump is the most perfectly written complaint in the history of whistleblower complaints. We now know the complaint was composed of lies and third-hand accounts and was written by partisan operatives. Kanikoa says, DNI Tulsi Gabbard just released never-before-seen declassified documents exposing a coordinated deep state conspiracy inside the intelligence community used to impeach President Trump in 2019. The whistleblower, a CIA analyst and self-declared registered Democrat who traveled with VP Biden to Ukraine and attended official Biden luncheons, admitted in his own filing to have zero first-hand knowledge of the Trump-Zelensky call, lied about contacting Adam Schiff's Democrat staff being before filing, and relied on key witnesses who co-authored the 2017 Russia hoax ICA and worked alongside disgraced FBI agent Peter Strzok. That witness admitted he couldn't connect the same dots, had to read between the lines, and only perceived a quid pro quo in hindsight. The documents further reveal the whistleblower tried to block Devin Nunes, a Gang of 8 member legally entitled to view the disclosure, from seeing it, expressed dislike of current FBI Director Kash Patel, and described NSC staffer Michael Ellis as slippery and untrustworthy. ICIG Atkinson never requested the actual call transcript, sent a criminal referral to DOJ on a second-hand testimony alone, altered the whistleblower form to remove the first-hand knowledge requirement, and ignored explicit DOJ guidance that the complaint didn't rise to the level of urgent concern. He wrote Congress anyway. The DOJ found no criminal violation. Trump defense attorney Alan Dershowitz, the evidence about the bias and credibility of the whistleblower was hidden by bureaucrats, a disservice to justice and the American people. Devin Nunes called it a staged attack by anti-Trump malcontents who believed they, not the American people, should determine who is president. The exculpatory transcripts were blocked in a safe and withheld from Trump's defense team until House Intelligence Chairman Rick Crawford forced their release on March 24, 2026. If you remember, the censorship was so bad at the time that Facebook and YouTube banned users simply for saying the whistleblower's name, Eric Ciaramella. This is Adam Schiff lying directly to the American people on the House floor during the impeachment hearing, claiming he had no idea who the whistleblower was, while his own staff had already been in contact with him. If you remember, at the time, the censorship was so bad against President Trump and his supporters that Facebook, YouTube banned users simply for saying the whistleblower's name, Eric Ciaramella. May says Schiff lied about Russia collusion. Schiff lied about not knowing the identity of the whistleblower. Schiff lied about Hunter Biden's laptop being Russian disinformation. He used his position on the House Intelligence Committee to mislead the country. He should be in prison. What was he there for? He was there to protect the system. At the time, FBI 1.0 was there to what? Protect the system. DOJ 1.0 was there to what? Protect the system. Sean Davis says, we now know why the corrupt deep state tried to hide the Atkinson testimony for so long. It proves the conspiracy to hoax Trump out of office in 2019 was somehow even more corrupt than we expected at the time. Hahn says, Sean is absolutely right. Before today, I had assumed this whole impeachment saga was driven by an opportunistic moment and then carried forward with the usual efficiency of the Democratic Party working in concert with the media when it comes to hoaxes. But having now read the document, it looks far more like it was premeditated. Yeah, it was the system. And think about it. They covered it all up. The cover-up always gets you. It shows your guilt. I mean, you don't even need anything else. Why did you hide it? Why did you hide everything from Trump? Why did you hide it from the public? You were covering it up because you were lying. You're guilty. The end. That's it. You were using this to get rid of Trump. Actually, they were forming a coup. They actually completed a coup in 2020. We haven't even gotten that far. And what's very interesting, and Trump put this out, is that Allen, he says, one of the greats, should do it. What is he talking about? Well, Alan Dershowitz says, well, his impeachment should be expunged because, again, it's fake. So think about it. They used Russian collusion. It was fake. The Alpha Bank hoax was fake. Impeachments were fake. Impeachment number 2 was fake. The indictments against him as he was running for president are fake. Everything that you've seen are fake. And when all of it didn't work, what did they do? They tried to assassinate him. Again, this is the system protecting itself. That's what you're witnessing. Trump now is exposing and dismantling their system. And he's bringing in players that you never expected. Because you have to understand how the system operates. And yes, there are certain people that are set up to expose certain things. Remember, the optics are going to look pretty darn good for Trump, especially when, like, say, Nick Shirley goes into Minneapolis and exposes the fraud. Did it come from Trump? No, it came from someplace else. But again, was there a little bit of assistance? Maybe, maybe not. But again, you could see Trump, he needs to show people the system. He showed everyone in the country and the world what their agenda was. And that was during Biden/Obama's time. That woke a lot of people up. Now, he's going deeper into the system. And this is where it's going to get uncomfortable. We're entering a different space right now. And we're going to see something very, very different. And this is why he needs the FISA. Because again, this is being used against the deep state players. FISA goes both ways. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said, I am working very hard with our great speaker, Mike Johnson, along with Chairman Jim Jordan and Chairman Rick Crawford, to get a clean extension of FISA 702 through the House of Representatives this week. I am asking Republicans to unify and vote together on the test vote to bring a clean bill to the floor. We need to stick together when this bill comes before the House Rules Committee today to keep it clean. I was a victim of the worst and most illegal abuse of FISA in our nation's history by radical left lunatics who lied to the FISA court to spy on my 2016 presidential campaign in their attempt to rig the election in favor of crooked Hillary Clinton. Their use of this instrument in the 2020 presidential election was even worse when the dirty cop James Comey, as the failed head of the FBI, went after me. He was using FISA Title I, the domestic collection, not FISA 702, the foreign collection, which needs to be extended today. While parts of FISA were illegally and unfortunately used against me in the Democrats' disgraceful witch hunt, an attack in the Russia hoax, and perhaps would be used against me in the future, I am willing to risk that as a citizen in order to do what is right for our country. Our military desperately needs FISA 702, and it is one of the reasons we've had such a tremendous success on the battlefield, both in Venezuela and Iran, since the first day of my already historic second term. My administration has worked tirelessly to ensure these FISA reforms are being aggressively executed at every level of the executive branch to keep America safe, while protecting our sacred civil liberties guaranteed by our great Constitution. With the ongoing successful military activities against the terrorist Iranian regime, it is more important than ever that we remain vigilant, protect our homeland troops and diplomats stationed abroad, and maintain our ability to quickly stop bad actors seeking to cause harm to our people and our country. The fact is, whether you like FISA or not, it is extremely important to our military. I have spoken to many generals about this, and they consider it vital. Not one said, even tacitly, that they can do without it, especially right now with our brilliant military operation in Iran. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Who's he actually monitoring? He's monitoring the deep state system across the globe. And he needs this to do this. And once again, you could see that Trump now is pushing for this, which I do believe most likely he will get, but we'll have to see how this all plays out. Now, think about what is happening out in California, because we were told to watch California. And I do believe California is going to be flipped in a way that no one would ever expect. Joe Lane says, are you seeing the big picture? Can you see what's coming? If the Democrat Party loses California, what do you think happens across the country? The table is being set. Follow the timeline. Q drop 1197, April 19th. Will election fraud be revealed soon? Yes, midterms are safe. Watch California. Are you watching California? First massive fraud is exposed in the homeless and hospice scams in California, cutting the knees out from under Gavin Newsom's presidential campaign. Then Eric Swalwell's campaign for governor gets derailed when his sexual assault cover-up gets exposed publicly. And now, evidence of Adam Schiff's involvement in a conspiracy to take down a duly elected president is declassified and made public, meaning the investigation is concluded. Tick-tock, Adam Schiff for brains. Guess who is likely next? My bet is that evidence of Nancy Pelosi's intimate involvement in the January 6th conspiracy to create fake insurrection is about to also be declassified and made public. Hammer time. And don't forget about Mad Maxine Waters. She sits on the banking committee and was trying to frame Trump. Remember when she pushed investigations into Trump's accounts at Deutsche Bank? She likes to blame Trump for corruption, but it's just projection. She's the one getting wealthy from sitting on the banking committee. Trump is in the process of taking down the entire group of leading Democrats in California right before he exposes the big enchilada, the stolen election in 2020. I'll keep saying it. The Democrat Party isn't going to survive what's coming, and that is absolutely true. Again, you could see where all this is moving. Trump is dismantling the system. Yes, D's are part of the system. Rhinos are part of the system. And the system is not just them. It goes far beyond that. And this is what you're seeing. And yes, at times, it's going to seem crazy as Trump goes deeper and deeper into their system. But don't worry. Everything's going to be all right. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone. Thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.